Bring in Democratic congressman from Washington and somebody who knows a thing or two about aviation is the ranking member on the Transportation and Infrastructure Committee, Rick Larsen. Congressman, thank you very much for being on the show with us today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Talk to me about oversight after this sort of epic fail here by this system and the domino effect that it's created. What do you want to see happen?
Well, first off, this is a major disruption to the traveling public, a traveling public that did not deserve any sort of disruptions, especially after what happened over the holidays, what happened over the last summer as well, and now one more major disruption to the traveling public's lives. But safety is most important, and that's why when these NOTAMs did not go out to pilots, safety had to come first, and they need these NOTAMs to understand the situational awareness of flying until they can get the system back up and running. I do think that the DOT, when it has answers, should brief Congress, specifically the committees involved with transportation, so that we know what happened. We can't look at this as just some software glitch. This is a major problem. We can't have this again.
This leads me to my next question for you, which piggybacks off of what I was talking with my colleague and transportation correspondent Tom Costello with. Have you seen anything in your position as a key member of Congress on this front to suggest perhaps the role or influence of any kind of bad actor here? Or do you believe, at least based on the evidence you have right now, that this was simply an unfortunate software malfunction?
All day I've been thinking about that. There has been no information, no evidence at all to indicate that this is any sort of a result of a malicious activity. That said, it continues to need to be investigated, but it looks like a major software problem. But still, we should have we have to have the safest system, but we're also the United States, and we should have a technology system that backs that up. And we're going to need some answers, and I'm sure they will get answers out of the DOT. And they'll share those with Congress so we can move forward on figuring out what to do next.
And I'll touch on that, but I want to, you've referenced that this has not been a fun few weeks for people who are trying to get places in the air, right, on planes. What does that say more broadly when you look at what we have seen now, not just this summer, not just over the holiday season, but again here today? What does this say about how Americans should feel as it relates to trust in air travel infrastructure and accountability for the air travel infrastructure?
I think that people should, I hope they see that this decision made to go to a ground stop, a full ground stop, is made out of safety first. And we have the safest system in the world in the United States, but it's because we look after the traveling public. I think that this decision was right to go to a full ground stop out of safety first. But moving forward, we don't want these kinds of things to happen. We look at what happened over the Christmas holidays that cascaded for one airline. We look at last summer when the demand for tickets outstripped the capacity for airlines to serve. It is a very sensitive system in terms of travel, and we need to put the traveling public first and their safety first. And so we'll take a look at what the Secretary of DOT, Department of Transportation, comes out with their after-action review. I hope to be briefed on that, and we'll see what we need to do to move forward.
Let me play for you then what we've heard from Secretary Pete Buttigieg here, knowing, as you well know, that several of your colleagues in the Senate want to see reforms in this year's FAA reauthorization bill, which obviously funds the agency here. Here's the Secretary.
We're going into a period where Congress will be looking at a periodic reauthorization of FAA. And one of the things I'm asking from FAA is, what's the state of the art in this form of message traffic? And again, how is it possible for there to be this level of disruption?
So, Congressman, what changes do you want to see to that FAA reauthorization bill?
Well, the Secretary is right on in his comments. We have the opportunity to look at the FAA through an authorization that is due to be passed by September, so we have to get going on the work. Second is that FAA does need to come back to the Secretary as well as to Congress and say, here's what happened, here's what we need for technology and software upgrades so that we minimize the chances that the system does this again. That's going to take funding, and I hope that as that the FAA brings solutions to us, that they also bring the actual dollar figure to us, and that a divided Congress can come together to support the FAA's need for upgrades.
Congressman Rick Larsen. Congressman, thank you very much for being on the show with us on what I know is a busy afternoon for you, a busy few weeks ahead. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.